Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
He showed the common man being fed through gears of the brutal, dehumanizing industrial age. He took on the American right wing of his day, its worst evils: hatred of immigrants, contempt for the truth, greed, and the abuse of power. We are fighting those same evils today. Sit in my room. Trump is toast.
I like that. Trump is toast. Yeah, man. And so you just kind of digest the news of the day.
It's an affirmation.
I'm glad some good is coming out of this stuff. This is Robert Mueller.
Robert Mueller putting the squeeze on the president. Just to relieve the stress, you know what I mean?
Also happens to be Columbus/Indigenous Peoples Day, which is a federal holiday. Although with the government shutdown, every day now is a federal holiday. We're on day 13 with no end in sight. A majority of Americans blame Republicans for the shutdown. Republican leaders are still trying to blame Democrats for the shutdown, even though they control the House, the Senate, and the White House. It would be like Trump blaming January 6th on Joe Biden, which he actually did do yesterday.
One night on late-night TV, a comedian took a shot at the president's obsession with magazine covers, while comedy legend Jim Carrey turned him into an over-the-top cartoon-style villain with sharp political satire that instantly got people talking. As everything unfolded, it became obvious that, between Jimmy Kimmel and Jim Carrey, Donald Trump was no longer just the punchline of a few jokes. He had become the center of a much bigger conversation where politics, entertainment, and public attention all collided. What made the whole moment stand out even more was that it didn't happen at some flashy awards show or a carefully staged Hollywood event. It felt direct, personal, and completely unplanned as it unfolded live in front of a television audience. And if you're a fan of Jimmy Kimmel and Jim Carrey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment to show your support.
Understand what's going on. I mean, I really, 1 minute you feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, now the landslide's going to start. And then there'll be some other weaselly little, sidestep they do or whatever it is. And, this administration is a rabid dog, and it's turning us upside down. And all, as far as I'm concerned, it's as obvious as the nose on your face.
Look at this. The Biden FBI placed 274 agents into the crowd on January 6th. If this is so, which it is, a lot of very good people will be owed big apologies. What a scam. Do something, President DJT. Joe Biden planting 274 FBI agents in the crowd is diabolical, especially considering the fact he somehow did this 2 weeks before becoming president. For a brain-dead vegetable, he couldn't even sign his own name. Somehow Joe Biden was able to get a lot.
Fast forward to October 2025, and the energy inside Jimmy Kimmel Live was already buzzing. The stage glowed with bright red lights, the audience was completely locked in, and the latest political headlines seemed to fill the entire studio. Then Jimmy Kimmel walked out holding the newest issue of Time magazine, and it immediately caught everyone's attention. According to reports discussed on the show, President Donald Trump had spent hours on Truth Social criticizing the magazine's cover, commenting on everything from the lighting and camera angle to the shadows on his suit. Kimmel didn't let the moment pass. He turned it into a joke that instantly landed with the crowd, saying it was hard to imagine someone spending so much time worrying about a magazine cover when there were so many bigger issues demanding attention.
Trump had what was easily the most presidential day of his life. He was front and center on the world stage signing a ceasefire in the Middle East, and then he got home. He started going through the internet, and he just couldn't help himself. Trump made the cover of Time magazine, which he usually loves. Before he was president, he had fake Time magazine covers hanging on the walls of his golf club, for real. But this one, I guess, conjured up some mixed feelings because of the photo they used. It's upset him so much that at 1:36 a.m. he posted, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time.
The audience reacted instantly, breaking into laughter the moment the joke landed. Even though the segment only lasted a few minutes, it felt like it was saying something much bigger than a typical comedy bit. At a time when major events were dominating the headlines around the world, Kimmel painted the picture of a president who seemed more focused on how he was being portrayed than on the larger issues unfolding around him. What made the moment work so well was that it barely needed any exaggeration because the situation already seemed unusual on its own. By the next morning, the clip had spread far beyond the show's regular audience and was being shared across multiple media outlets. Many reports described Kimmel's remarks as a sharp criticism of what many observers saw as yet another public reaction driven by concerns over personal image and appearances.
Hair, and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. Now I want to go back to that cover and show you this crown. Okay, that's not a crown, that's the letter M. Only he would see an M on his head and assume it's a crown. If that's not an M, you're on the cover of Tie magazine, okay? Finally being honored for wearing that tie down to your knees. Every morning is a game of who am I mad at today? Is it the Cracker Barrel logo? Is it windmills? Is it Bad Bunny? Is it the Nobel Prize? Or is it the turkey vagina slapping around over my...
The contrast was impossible to ignore. While the serious magazine cover stayed on the screen, Jimmy Kimmel kept firing off joke after joke, turning the whole situation into something that felt like a modern political cartoon unfolding live in front of the audience. What made the segment so effective was that the humor carried the criticism naturally without ever feeling forced or overly harsh. People could laugh at the jokes while still picking up on the bigger message behind them. But that was only part of the story. Things became even more dramatic when a long-running rivalry started heating up again. Just a few weeks earlier, in September 2025, Kimmel had returned to late-night television after a short break. Not long after his return, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, claiming that Kimmel's ratings were dropping fast and that viewers were beginning to lose interest in the show.
Because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, telling an American company, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, and that these companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead, in addition to being a direct violation of the First Amendment, is not a particularly intelligent threat to make in public. Ted Cruz said he sounded like a mafioso. Although, I don't know, if you want to hear a mob boss make a threat like that, you have to hide a microphone in a deli and park outside in a van with a tape recorder all night long. This genius said it on a podcast. Brendan Carr is the most embarrassing car Republicans have embraced since this one. And that's saying something.
The ratings, though, told a completely different story. Jimmy Kimmel's first show back attracted around 6.3 million viewers, making it one of the most watched episodes of his career in recent years. Instead of getting defensive, Kimmel responded the very next night the way people have come to expect from him, with confidence, perfect timing, and a joke that immediately connected with the audience. Looking straight into the camera, he joked by asking if anyone had ever been fired over disappointing ratings in the middle of a Wednesday. The crowd burst into laughter, but the moment felt like more than just another late-night punchline. It came across as a calm, confident response that mixed humor with a clear message. Later, many industry observers described it as an almost perfect comeback, and even some conservative commentators acknowledged that the joke landed exactly the way it was meant to and clearly resonated with viewers.
People who work for him, who try to clean up the messes, they've been bending over backwards to say, oh, he never threatened. J.D. Vance today made the claim that what the FCC chairman said was a joke, which, I don't know, maybe that was a joke? I don't know. They go to all these lengths to say, oh, it wasn't coercion, the president was just musing. And then the second Trump is alone, he sits on the toilet, he gets his grubby little thumbs on his phone, and he immediately blows their excuses to smithereens and says, it was ratings that got me fired. Has anyone ever been fired for bad ratings on a Wednesday?
Jimmy Kimmel's style has stayed remarkably consistent over the years. Instead of focusing on ordinary people, he usually puts powerful public figures in the spotlight and lets their own words and actions do most of the talking. Every social media post becomes fresh material for comedy, every confident statement sets up another punchline, and every attempt to deny or dismiss a claim gives him a reason to bring up what was said before. Whenever Donald Trump posts online, Kimmel Kimmel often shares it with his audience. When Trump praises his own achievements, Kimmel frequently turns those moments into satire. And whenever Trump pushes back against a report or rejects a particular narrative, Kimmel is known for showing older clips and letting viewers make up their own minds. Over time, Trump's constant activity on social media has provided a steady stream of material, helping Kimmel build monologues that many viewers see as a blend of comedy, political criticism, and cultural commentary.
Allowed to show his neck on TV. Wouldn't it be funny if the FCC fined us for showing his neck on TV? Trump went on, I never like taking pictures from underneath angles, but this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? It's like he's a TikTok influencer yelling at her boyfriend for not knowing her angles. The photographer for Time could not be reached for comment. He is currently en route to El Salvador, but poor Kim Jong-un, his big day is ruined, and I'll tell you what, if he doesn't like the cover photo, wait till he sees the back of the magazine. I don't know how he's gonna...
The conversation changed almost instantly when major breaking news reported that Donald Trump had received a guilty verdict. The late-night show had to adapt in real time, with the writing team making last-minute changes and rewriting material right up until the broadcast began. You could feel the atmosphere inside the studio shift as excitement and curiosity spread through the audience, with everyone knowing they were watching a major news event unfold. When Jimmy Kimmel finally walked onto the stage, he was holding the verdict documents in one hand and his cue cards in the other, making it clear this wasn't going to be an ordinary opening monologue. He started by acknowledging just how historic and unusual the moment was, then smoothly followed it with a joke aimed at Trump. That mix of serious news and perfectly timed comedy connected with the audience right away, and the crowd responded with laughter while also recognizing the significance of what had just happened.
Trump is guilty of 34 felony charges. On the first charge of falsifying business records.
Guilty.
On the second charge.
Guilty.
On the third charge.
Guilty.
On the next 31 charges.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
Poor Donald Trump, 7 weeks of sleep farting, all down the drain, all for nothing. You do have to hand it to him. No president has ever been convicted more than Donald Trump. How long before he starts bragging about it?
The reaction was immediate and intense. The audience erupted in laughter, followed by loud applause, and then another wave of laughter as the joke really sank in. For many people watching, it felt like much more than a typical late-night punchline. After years of political tension dominating the headlines, the moment gave people a rare chance to laugh through a serious news event. Later, many commentators described the monologue as a shared emotional moment, saying comedy helped audiences process what had happened in a way that felt more relatable. Jimmy Kimmel had always been known for blending humor with political commentary, but that night felt different. For a brief moment, he seemed to take on a role that went beyond that of a traditional late-night host. At the same time, while Kimmel was responding to Trump with jokes and commentary, Jim Carrey was getting ready to tackle the same subject in a completely different way, using visual art, symbolism, and satire to make his point with very few words.
Stress reliever.
And here we have...
That's Space Force.
That's the Space
beginning.
Force, yeah.
That's the beginning of Space Force. That's right. Makes me feel good.
When you were a kid, would you draw caricatures of your friends, etc.?
I did. I drew pictures of my teacher.
Oh, really?
And I don't
How'd
have
that
any of
go
those
over?
with me. She actually stole. Wow, look at this. I can do anything with it.
To understand how this creative approach came together, it helps to go back to September 2018, when Jim Carrey appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live with a collection of political artwork that had already drawn a lot of attention. Spread across the desk were bold, colorful, and sometimes unsettling illustrations featuring Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and the political climate surrounding them. As Carrey held up one of the paintings, he smiled slightly and explained that creating this kind of art had become an important part of his life. He said his goal was to help people remember the period of history they were living through and encourage them to think about the events happening around them. As Jimmy Kimmel looked through the collection, the audience responded with a mix of curiosity and uneasy laughter. Some of the paintings showed exaggerated versions of Trump, while others focused on controversial political issues, including immigration policy. Looking over the artwork, Kimmel recognized the strong emotions behind it and pointed out that the paintings weren't just meant to be looked at, they were meant to make people think and leave a lasting impression.
Decision about a candidate, it's not who you are. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you're different. It doesn't mean, the trouble with what's happening right now is these really negative forces like the Steve Bannons of the world are convincing us that we're separate. that we're not the same country, that there's two countries. There's not two countries. I can break bread with anybody in this country. I love people in this country. I love the heartland of this country. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, it's become obvious that the choice was a bad one. We just need to change it. And if you can't vote for a Democrat, at least let all this flood of information that's so negative.
Carrey's response was simple and direct. He explained that the times were already intense, and real art isn't always supposed to make people feel comfortable. Sometimes, he said, its purpose is to challenge the way people think. What came from that conversation was much more than a celebrity simply showing off personal artwork. It felt like a public statement about his beliefs and the deeper purpose behind his work. The actor, who was once best known for physical comedy and larger-than-life characters, had clearly moved in a different creative direction, presenting himself as a political artist responding to a deeply divided moment. Every brushstroke, every color choice, and every caption carried a sense of frustration, urgency, or concern through satire. Instead of focusing only on appearances or personalities, his artwork aimed to capture the emotions and tension surrounding the political climate itself. In the years that followed, many critics described the collection as a combination of political commentary, visual storytelling, and symbolism shaped by the modern internet age.
For those who think I go too hard on Donald Trump, to the point where there are still a lot of people who think I should be pulled off the air for making fun of Donald Trump. So I want to explain, I talk about Trump more than anything because he's a bully. I don't like bullies. I played the clarinet in high school, okay? So I just don't like it. Donald Trump is an old-fashioned 80s movie-style bully, taking your lunch money. And if you give it to him once, he'll take it again. Two things he loves, lunch and money, okay? He will take that peanut butter and jelly sandwich your mom cut in half like a triangle for you. He will gobble it up in front of your face, and then he'll eat your little Ziploc bag of Oreos, too. And he'll take the note your mother put in your lunchbox, and he'll read it aloud to everyone. Oh, look, Mommy loves her little boy. And then he'll smile with a bunch of cookies in his teeth.
Obamagate. It's been going on for a long time.
On Jimmy Kimmel's stage, the message felt even more direct, with comedy and creativity being used to capture history as it was happening in real time. Another moment showed just how powerful this style of political comedy had become. On October 3, 2020, Saturday Night Live returned with its famous debate Cold Open, featuring Jim Carrey as Joe Biden going up against Alec Baldwin's Donald Trump. The sketch recreated the chaos of the first presidential debate, turning the constant interruptions, arguments, and tension into a fast-paced performance that closely reflected the political headlines dominating the country at the time.
Then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple. Just like dominoes, one by one, they'll go down.
That was also in 2022. And I wonder, how did that guy turn into this guy?
Who would you like to see replace Kimmel on late night?
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel look, he was fired, he had no talent. It's a whack job, but he had no talent. And more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings.
Well, I do.
Jim Carrey portrayed Joe Biden as someone trying to keep control of a conversation that was constantly falling apart, repeatedly attempting to bring order back to the debate. In contrast, Alec Baldwin's version of Donald Trump moved through every moment with nonstop energy, never slowing down. The audience laughed throughout the performance, but what really made the sketch stand out was how little exaggeration it actually needed. At times, it felt almost like a replay of moments viewers had already witnessed in real life. The actual debate had been so chaotic that the parody ended up feeling surprisingly close to reality. In many ways, the sketch showed how modern politics had started to take on the feeling of entertainment, with Trump remaining at the center of the attention. Critics later praised the performance for blending comedy with political commentary in a way that worked not only as entertainment but also as a reflection of the moment.
Maybe he's one of those sticky traps for rats. We don't know. Maybe he's a wet pocket full of gummy worms. After the verdict, a PO'd former POTUS marched over to reporters outside court to let his displeasure be known.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA, and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for...
What truly connects Jimmy Kimmel and Jim Carrey isn't just their willingness to criticize a president. It's the way they both take moments that are already public spectacles and transform them into reflections on much bigger ideas. Kimmel does this through late-night television, using comedy almost every night to explore themes like power, ego, and public behavior. Carrey approaches those same subjects from a completely different direction, using acting, painting, and visual satire to express his perspective. Both perform in front of live audiences, both experience immediate reactions, and both seem to believe that when traditional forms of accountability feel limited, comedy can still make people stop, pay attention, and think. That idea becomes even clearer when Donald Trump begins responding directly to the criticism being aimed at him.
I was not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein, and you watched people yesterday saying that I threw him out of a club. I didn't want anything to do with him. That was many, many years ago. It shows you one thing, that I have good taste, okay? Now other people, they went all over with him. They went to his island. They went all over the place. He was very well known in Palm Beach. His island, whatever his island was, wherever it is, I was never there. Find out the people that went to the island. But Jeffrey Epstein was not somebody that I respected. I threw him out. In fact, I think the great James Patterson, who's a member of Mar-a-Lago, made a statement yesterday that many years ago I threw him out. I'm not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I want you to know sometimes when I watch you striding across the White House lawn so confidently, with so much masculinity, I'll admit it, I get sexually aroused. Thank you for breathing life back into my once slumbering penis.
That was very well stated, listen.
Almost every joke Jimmy Kimmel delivered sparked a fresh wave of reactions online. At the same time, many of Jim Carrey's paintings faced criticism from conservative commentators who viewed them as provocative or exaggerated. But that criticism often had the opposite effect. The more controversy the artwork created, the more curiosity it generated, bringing even more attention and larger audiences into the conversation. By mid-2025, Kimmel's Trump-focused monologues were regularly trending across social media, reaching far beyond the usual late-night television audience. Meanwhile, exhibitions featuring Carrey's artwork attracted large crowds, with many people first discovering his paintings through television interviews, online debates, and viral clips. As these moments continued to unfold, the line between artistic expression and political activism became increasingly blurred and harder to separate.